Thank you for coming. Welcome to today's event, which is What Comes Next for Computer Science and Engineering. And I have an excellent panel here from recent graduates. So it wasn't a long time ago when they were sitting in your seat and they were actually thinking about opportunities and what they're going to do after graduation. I would like to thank, first of all, Hussein and the Alumni Relations team for putting together this event, and myself. It's an excellent opportunity for all students across the different years, not only level 6, which is your final year, to have an interest of career opportunities after graduation, and actually what we as Westminster can help you with your career and the process of finding a job throughout the years with us. So it's not only for level 6 students, but for everyone who is interested about job opportunities. I would like first of all to actually start with a very, very short introduction from the panel members to introduce themselves, say a few things about when did you study with us, which year actually you graduated, and what course did you study with us. And if you can actually say a few things about your current career. Thank you so much. Yes, I would like to start with Lola, our first panelist.
Hi everybody, I'm Lola. I graduated from Business Information Systems in 2021. I was in the placement year, and I currently work at Accenture. It is a consulting and technology company, pretty big. My role is, my title is digital product management consultant. Probably doesn't mean very much, doesn't really mean much to me either, but the main focus of my role is basically getting mobile apps, websites, features on applications from an idea to delivery. So I work a lot with developers and kind of senior leaders from converting business strategy and ideas and actually taking that from that idea, working with developers and sending it live on websites and apps. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Hello everyone. So my name is Piotr. I've done software engineering degree, graduated in 2023, and I also did placement. So 4 years total. Right after graduation, I landed a job as a Flutter developer. So Flutter technology is a cross-platform framework to build mobile apps, but not only. Also web apps, desktop apps. I got interested in that half year through the studies. I was lucky enough that I landed specifically job in what I wanted. And I still work in the same place. So May 2023, that's 1.5 years. The company is a UK-based company, smoke-free. Primarily it's a mobile app to help you quit smoking, but it's a service that also has some governmental contracts and stuff like that. So pretty exciting, and it's kind of startup character company. That's a brief. There you go.
Hi everyone. Excuse me. My name is Jamil. I did Business Information Systems and graduated in 2021. Soon after that, I got a role with the Home Office, so I went straight into the civil service essentially. It took a year after applying to get in, so if anyone ever wants to go to civil service, it's a long process sometimes, so don't worry. I was there as almost like a mini business analyst, so I was kind of trying to improve business processes, but it wasn't technically a digital role, and that's kind of where I wanted to get into. So soon after joining the Home Office, I applied for the FastStream civil service, the civil service FastStream, which is like the Cabinet Office's graduate program. I was successful in getting into that, and then after it took about a year again, but I was obviously at the Home Office during that. And then I went to the Ministry of Justice. So I was working as a delivery manager in the Ministry of Justice for a year, and I was working with a lot of data scientists, data analysts, working on the criminal justice system dashboard, which is a public-facing dashboard that anyone can go and visit. And then it's a 3-year program I'm on, so I'm currently in my 2nd year, and after the first year I really wanted to get into the cyberspace. So that's where I am now. I'm currently a senior incident response officer for DEFRA, which is the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. It's like a medium-sized government department, so about 30,000 people, where Ministry of Justice is more like 90,000, so that's one of the bigger ones. And yeah, so that's where I am now, working in cybersecurity.
So my name is Farid. I graduated from Data Science and Analytics last summer, well, this summer just passed, so 2024. And I did a placement year on my degree, so after the 2nd year, between the final year. And I went to that same company as a graduate, so I work as a data scientist now in like marketing and econometrics. So basically what we do is we use statistical analysis to inform, to build marketing models. And the company I work for is it's called Media Lab. They're just literally based just up the road on Little Portland Street, and they basically have like a lot of clients, mainly charities and financial companies, and we basically model their marketing mix, like their portfolio, for like media and online and offline digital. So we quantify the impact of like all of their media performance and help them inform like where to spend their money, basically. And we do that through a number of different types of techniques like MMM, marketing mix modeling, statistical testing, and a lot of different machine learning implementations to make those tests even more efficient. So yeah, that's basically what we do. I've been working as a data scientist in there since June. I went back, and during my placement year I was a junior data scientist there. So basically rejoined the same team and just took on more responsibility basically. And yeah, it's a good pathway to gain more, get deeper into like analytics, marketing analytics, and also if you're interested in sort of machine learning and the applications of that within marketing and media performance, it's a good place to be. So.
Hello, my name is Sauro. I graduated from the Computer Games Development Program this summer. I'm currently working at Ferrari Interactive, which is a game development company that ports high-quality computer games into mobile platforms like iOS and Android. I got the job from a placement I did during my university, so they offered me from my personal experience a part-time job for my final year and then a full-time position once I graduated.
Thank you so much. As you can see, we have a very diverse background here of our panelist members. So some of them, they work also very, very locally across the corner, and which is really, really nice that actually you're so central and so local. And now what I'm planning to do, I'm planning to put some questions to all of you, which I believe our audience is going to benefit from these questions. And when we finish with our discussion, you will have sometimes, you as an audience, to put your questions to our panelists. And after the Q&A session, feel free with some refreshments that we have over there to network and actually carry on your discussion that you had with any of the panel members. So thank you so much again for such an excellent introduction to your graduation and what you did, when did you study, what did you study, and where actually you are working currently. So I would like to start with my first question about Westminster and how Westminster actually helped you, if there were any specific activities that you did for employment or extracurricular activities that help you to find your current job. So my question is, how Westminster throughout those 3 years actually saved or prepared you through extra things to find the job that you are currently doing? And I will start with Alvaro.
So I participated in a couple of employability events. Like I attended this same event last year, and then at least for the games development, the course leader also organizes some extra activities. Like they bring industry experts for talks, and they provide some passes for conference. But I think probably the most important was the career mentoring Westminster provided, because talking with someone already in the industry gave me like confidence for like the technical interviews and some of the more contest tasks for the hiring process.
So while I was at Westminster, there was like 2 things that really stood out to me in terms of extracurricular activities that helped drive like me into my career path. So the first one was that I managed to get a job with, I believe it's called Target Connect now, like the employability within the uni. So I was like a digital ambassador. I worked on like user testing on like the website and like the employability side, and just like resource migration, things like that helped me like just get a bit of experience with like hands-on tools and just knowing how to speak to different stakeholders, which is a really important skill like in the working world, even if you're in a technical position. And yeah, so following on things like that and going to networking events like this, and when they have guest speakers and industry talks as well. So often our course leader would organise like companies and industry like visits to those companies, and we would go and visit the office. I believe there was one, like we went to Cerner, and then another one last year. I can't remember the name of the company, but they were pretty big, and I believe like a couple of people were in contact with them for career opportunities. So things like that, and also just speaking to your lecturers and your course leaders. Often a lot of them have really interesting backgrounds in terms of the work they've done, either through their research projects, PhDs, or like companies they've actually worked for before. And that can serve as a lot of inspiration for you in terms of if you're interested in a particular career path or an area of work, you'd be surprised to know like they may have done something that you're really interested in doing, and little tips you can get from them will really help you when it comes to like building your career in that particular direction. You might learn things that you wouldn't have found out by just like going on the internet or different things like that. So yeah, like get to know your lecturers.
And I suppose all these extra things, both of you, definitely were a must to your CV. All these extracurricular activities that you could actually, when you were preparing your CV to send for your current job or other jobs that you applied first, definitely these were extra things that you can add into your CV apart from your education or your final year project or your marks, your grades and everything else.
Yeah, I would say so definitely. Because sometimes the like networking and the soft skills are what take you really far in your career, especially at the beginning. Like if you work in a corporate company, for example, even if you're in like a technical role, you are expected to be able to communicate with people and be able to share ideas and communicate complex things really simply. And so sometimes you can learn that well from your lecturers, because that's basically what they do all the time. They're teaching you complex stuff in like a simple way. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
So it's completely different to these two here. In hindsight, I wish I had attended a lot more than I did. I honestly feel like I didn't do enough, so good on you all for being here. I wish I'd done more of that, just to sort of give myself a confidence boost when it came to when I finished and wrapped up and was applying for jobs and kind of had more to add to my CV. It obviously worked out in the end, but it would have been nice to be able to juice it up, I guess, a bit. But obviously, I utilised my lecturers as much as I could. They're always there to support you. They want you to succeed. So I was frequently asking questions, sending emails when I needed to. And yeah, that was a great support. There was also a portal where you could find jobs. They had roles advertised, and I used to go on that quite a lot actually and kind of see what interested me and kind of see what they were looking for and see if I could develop in those areas. So that was something I tried to do often. But you know, these sort of events, you know, I wish I'd done more of. It would have definitely given me a bit of a boost going into the job search.
So actually, Jamil, you're answering my second question, which is absolutely great, and then I will move on to Pilot, which was, for example, if you had to do something differently, and if you had the chance, what actually you will do differently, which is what you just said, to be able actually to attend events like that and be able to be more active with soft skills rather than skills that you are learning from your lecturers and from your seminar tutors and so far. However, what I would like, you mentioned something about websites and where they can register our students. Just remember the talent bank that we have here, where you can all of you register, and in case that there is any job opportunities there based on your profile and based on your skills, they will definitely contact you. So if you're not aware of the talent bank that we have at the university, please make sure that you register yourselves. So thank you so much for that.
No worries, yeah, do that. It would be really helpful.
So for me, well, from the beginning I decided that I'm going to be proactive, to be as proactive as possible, and I think the main thing is there is a program, back then it was called CEC, Creative Enterprise Center, I think. I'm not sure if it still exists, or Natasha, the CEC, the Creative Enterprise Center, does it still exist today?
Yes, it does. So it's called We Network now.
So there we go.
Westminster Enterprise Network, yes.
So it was nice because it was structured, and it was basically a program after which you are getting certificate, and it was a series of workshops, some video meetings, some events, and you attend them, you get some points, and in the end you are getting certificate. It was Enterprise Champion certificate. So because some of them, they are more about freelance or some getting work ready, job ready. Another one was about maybe you want to build a startup, and then for me it was the latter one, and I wanted to develop some idea during that. So that was one that during uni I was trying to utilize it as much as possible, and I'm sure that it helped me with the soft skills, with ideating something that actually I used for dissertation later. So it turned out very, very helpful. But the other thing also, it was the mentoring scheme, or how is it called? Basically, I had not many, but 2 sessions that are free and that you can get assigned and have a meeting with a mentor. So probably these are also alumni that are volunteering to do it, I think. And
they are final year students, they are current students actually, that they help especially level 4 students with what they're
so I think also this was very useful. So it's similar experience as we have now. So guys that have already some years of experience on the job, and they were I could ask them some questions about the idea or how to approach the final project. And then the second session I had was actually about when I was looking for a placement and getting some kind of interview tips. So this was super helpful. So yeah, those 2 mainly I could recommend to you.
So just to kind of echo what Piotr just mentioned around the placement scheme, I did a placement year, and that was super helpful for me, just understanding how the working world works, because that's probably most people's first introduction to like a proper corporate role. That helped me understand how it works, what my interests are. I ended up kind of realizing from that role that I didn't really want to do that role, but I actually understood what I liked, and then looked for roles that had the elements of that role that I liked. And for me, getting a placement year was quite hard, but at the time it was called the Employability Centre, really helped out with that. There were like CV review clinics that I used to drop into. Those are really, really helpful, because a regular CV for a retail job that you might have at university is completely different to a CV that you're writing to get like the first corporate career role. So that was really, really helpful. I think similar to Jamil, I did my placement year and COVID hit during my placement year, so I didn't actually get to go back on campus for basically the last 2 years of my course, so I wasn't able to kind of attend these kind of careers or networking events, but the portal was still available where roles were advertised, CV clinics were virtual, so I still made use of a lot of those kind of resources, and yeah, I'd say that whole placement year process really helped in then finding my role after graduating too.
Thank you so much. What I would like to hold or keep from the current discussion is actually what you said about soft skills. So it's not only technical skills that you should be looking at from your lecturers, your course leader, your seminar tutors, but how soft skills and networking is very, very important. So all the different sessions that the alumni relations team, the employability tutor, myself, your lecturers are putting there, your course leaders with invited speakers, please try to attend that. Okay. I think two of you mentioned something about the CV, so I would like now to ask, what do you think should be a must when someone is preparing their CV for finding a job? So what should be there that you think is going to make a difference compared to the other students with just a normal CV? So anything that you can recommend that actually help you to find your job? So I will start with Lola. Thank you.
Yeah, I think not exactly answering your question in terms of what specifically should be on your CV, but I think it's really easy to just create a general CV that you use for all kind of jobs. But I think when I was applying for graduate jobs, a lot of them were pretty varied. So I was applying for business analyst roles, product management roles, project management roles. They were all kind of similar, but there are very clear differences within the roles. So one thing I did was have a different CV for each of those kinds of roles, because you want to be able to highlight different skills that you have for the appropriate roles, rather than a generic one that you're sending to every employer where actually it's not highlighting the key skills you need for that specific role. So I would always say go through job descriptions, pick out keywords, pick out key skills that you are seeing in the job listing, and then see what experience you have that you can pull those skills from. So whether it was a course, a module that you studied on your course that you actually learned about a certain process that they mentioned in the job description, make sure you highlight that. Or if you spoke to somebody who is in the career that you're in, something that they mentioned, you can pull from that. So I think, yeah, don't just stick to a generic CV. I know it's easy, it's not as great CV for every role, but yeah, definitely have a number of CVs that you can pull from that are relevant and have the key skills highlighted for the different roles that you are applying for.
I totally agree, yeah. So because I also done a placement year, of course it helped me to get a graduate job, but then getting a placement was actually super hard, and it doesn't differ in getting a normal job at all. It's basically the same thing. Maybe the expectations are a little bit lower, but it's still hard to get it. The interview process, like multiple stages, it just looks exactly the same. So I would say for the graduate job, it's just one of must-haves is that you need to have some kind of experience. And it's okay, you got a placement, that's great. You don't have a placement, get internship, summer internship, that's cool. If you don't have those, get some volunteering job. And that's what I did just when COVID hit in 2020, so it was my second year, before second year started, and I wasn't sure if I'm gonna get if I'm gonna even try get a placement. It was some event that actually convinced me to try. At first, I didn't even have plans for that. So I think this volunteer, so in the end, volunteering for a few months as a developer or whatever, then the placement, that was great. Like at the end, my CV, I believe, was quite strong. But another thing is some certifications that you can get through uni, some probably, and I could have it through the placement company. It was something that there was a training hours assigned, and I could actually complete Google Cloud engineer qualification through them, covered by them 100%. All I had to do was this effort during placement to do this extra work, and that I could of course put in my CV as well. So yeah, those are mine.
Okay. Did any of you attend any of these CV workshops where you can go with your CV and you can check it and get some recommendations, what to improve and what not?
Workshops meaning like a uni event? Or?
Yeah, from the university where, for example, you can go with your CV and you can actually have someone sitting with you and I think Lola, maybe you attend one of these, so would you like to say a few things about that, your experience?
Yeah, so I went to a few CV clinics. It was mainly when I was applying for my placement role. Literally just like around the corner, I think downstairs is like a employability centre, it was called at the time. And you basically go in with a first draft of your CV and you'll print off like 2 copies. The member of staff will go through your CV, basically give you any advice like the ordering of your CV, if you should put your kind of skills at the top or your experience at the top. They'll kind of point out where maybe verbs you're using aren't so strong and what you could use instead, just to show that you're owning something rather than helping something. And yeah, I think it was really useful for me because you don't really get someone just sitting down reading your CV dedicated for you and giving you one-on-one advice. So definitely leverage that if you have the opportunity, because yeah, it doesn't come around often. So yeah, I would highly recommend if you get the opportunity.
Thank you. Jamin?
And just to follow up quickly, I can kind of relate to what Lola said. Regardless the placement, if it's placement or not, I used that platform. It's employability platform. You mentioned about CV kind of creators, I think. So I used that as well, and there is something like interview simulator even. So like there are a few tools that you could try them, and it really makes a difference. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo what they say. I think it's really, really, really important to tailor every CV to the role that you're applying for. You should never have a generic one because it's really easy to pick out. So in my current role, we currently have a campaign going for 3 roles in my team, and for the last 2 weeks I've been sifting through hundreds of applications, and it's really, really easy to see who has put in effort and who hasn't. There's also a lot of ChatGPT these days, so don't do that. It's very easy to pick that out as well. But yeah, I think one of the most important things is whenever you're applying for a job, they obviously have something that's, I mean, my experience is civil service recruitment processes, which is slightly different to like the private sector. But one thing jobs will always have is like an essential criteria, what they're really looking for, you know, for a candidate to be able to perform the role. And, you know, quite often you'll be looking at it and you'll be like, I can't do that, I can't do that. And that's totally okay, because that is like the ideal candidate. Like almost nobody can tick off everything on that. So one thing I'd say is never let that stop you from applying for a job, because if you can tick off most of those, that's really good. And I would say in your CV, tailor it to those sort of essential criteria to show evidence of how you'd be able to perform that. And you know, that's kind of been like a personal statement as well. So I would say, yeah, just tailor each and every one of your CVs and statements to the specific role and kind of tick off as much as you can of those, like evidence of those essential criteria of why you'd be an ideal candidate for that role.
Thank you.
Yeah, so without like echoing everything that they say, because everyone's made like really good points, what I would say to add to that is try to highlight or show something in your CV that you're doing with your spare time or your extracurricular or some kind of, like often in tech they call it like a pet project or something like that. Try and highlight something like that that actually shows that you're engaged or interested in the role or the industry that you're applying to. How that might look is, for example, like when I applied, did many applications to get a placement, I was like dead set on getting one in analytics or in data science. And like one thing that really set it apart was that I was like, for about a year beforehand, I was just writing like a blog about like stuff that I found interesting in the industry, and in the end, like the role that I got, that was like the not deciding factor, but like a big factor. And like my manager, the guy who hired me, he really enjoyed reading it, and it goes quite far to say, because you would think like something small like that doesn't make too much of a difference, but sometimes that's like that one little thing that they can see you're actually really engaged and interested. And often in like roles like this, when you bring that sort of engagement or that sort of passion for a particular subject area, that's what they're looking for you to apply in the actual day-to-day job. Especially if anyone's interested in like analytics or data science, it's very much ideas into like math, logic, and then into reality sort of job. So yeah, try to be creative and highlight that creative thing on your CV, because you never know, it might be that little thing that makes a big difference.
Thank you.
Similar to what you said, I think that having an online portfolio where you can showcase in more detail what you have worked on can really help and make you stand out, because the CV is just text, so it can be hard to stand out when there are thousands of CVs. Of course, that would be always a bit complicated, because the hiring manager has to actually access the portfolio, and you have to put the effort into developing projects that you feel confident to put into the portfolio and showcase to people. But I think that can help you stand out.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, what I would like to keep from our discussion is that, first of all, the CV clinics, how important are they in order for you actually to polish your CV and attend these sessions? Another thing is that online presence, very, very important as well, if this is a job. And another thing, even the very, very different things, like I like from Farid creativity. So even back at school, if you have been football captain, or even now, if in your local football team you're a captain. So these extra skills, for example, where I can show team spirit or things like that that might be appropriate for a role, don't forget to mention it. So it's not only the technical stuff that they're looking at, but soft skills are very, very important. So anything that you're doing, from volunteering work up to being captain to your local team or anything else that you think it can boost your CV, just make sure that it is there. Okay, thank you so much. So I will move on now to my next question, which I think it's relating about the hiring process. So how was it? How was the hiring process in your current job? And if you like it, for example, just to be the first job that you apply and find it, or after 100 decline, then this was, for example, the 101 that you have been accepted.
So I got this job from my placement. So this was my first choice for placement, so I think I got lucky, but I did got, let's say, ghosted by a lot of applications I sent and never got a response. And the hiring process, I think, was pretty standard. I sent the application, my CV, and a cover letter personalized to that company. Then I did a technical interview, or well, it was more like a test for an hour. And then from there, I had a technical interview with the programming lead of the company, immediately followed by a online meeting with the head of the company. And from there, I got the position. I think what helped me start the process was talking with my course leader, because since this was from a placement, he guided me through the placement process and the open opportunities that I could apply to.
Yeah, so the role I'm in right now is obviously the graduate role of the place that I did my placement at. So in terms of, so for this one I didn't have to interview again, I just kind of went back. But to get the placement role, I would agree with like what Goethe said earlier, is that it's actually a lot harder. So mine, for example, for data science, started with like many sort of missed target applications. So loads that I didn't hear back, probably like, I think I counted like just under 100 that like I either didn't hear back or got declined, or I had out of that, I think in total 10 interviews. And then 3 of them got offered, and then I took 1 of them. And so it just shows like the ratio of like how much you have to try to get something, but it's just a numbers game, you just kind of go through it. And so what it kind of begins with is you have like a a discussion about sort of personality and fit for the company. So they kind of want to see what you understand about the company that you're interviewing for. Do you actually understand what you're going to be doing or what they're asking of you? And do you understand the industry? Like in some way, obviously for placement, the expectation isn't super high, but they're just looking for kind of a baseline understanding. And then hopefully past that, what happened next was you have, mine was like quite a few stages, so I had that stage with one manager, then I had to speak to the head of the department, and they ask you a bit more technical questions, but just in person, well, over Teams, but they ask you that like just kind of holistically, just seeing whether to flesh out whether you understand basic concepts, like in my field, stats is like everything, so they want to just understand, see if you get that. Then what happened next was they give you like a technical take-home test, so some of you guys might have heard of that, you get like kind of a case study, and in data science, really often what it is they'll either send you a link to do some kind of technical test online, like a SQL test or a Python test or something like that. In my case, they sent me like a data set that was like really messy, and they basically gave me a spec, and it was actually like a blank client spec, and they gave you to build a model, or either build a model or some sort of test to prove a certain outcome or hypothesis. So that's what I had to do. I had to build like some models and then create like a presentation. So they're kind of taking you through what the workflow would kind of be in real life, but just in a kind of a condensed format. And then you then take that task that you did and you go to the second to last interview, which is usually in person. And what they do there is they get you to present your work as if you were presenting to a client. So that's basically what I have to do. And it was like with the hiring manager, my manager, and then 2 or 3 other data scientists who were there. So it can be a kind of a thing where they put you on the spot a little bit, but it's good for the exposure because in general, like when you're actually presenting to clients, it feels a lot more relaxed than it was in your interview in real life. So yeah, get past that stage, then they've got, by that point, the company has a good understanding of whether you understand your role and if you're capable or not. And then I think the last stage was just kind of just chatting to the hiring manager again and just then making sure that you actually want to work there. So that was like how it went for mine on the placement. And then yeah, for graduate, they just kind of asked me, like, do I want to come back or not? So yeah, but I think the key thing with the hiring process is not getting too phased by the technical tests, because everyone here will probably go through some sort of technical test if you're in computer science, data science, or games or anything. Primarily computer science, everyone will have technical tests of some sort. Don't get too phased by them, like they're trying to see how you approach a problem. They're not always looking to see if you crack the correct answer all the time. A lot of times I had interviews before, even like recently I had interviews that I got past, and I didn't get the answers right, but they like the way you approach the problem. So like keep that in mind a lot, like you guys will probably face very similar challenges like in the technical classes. So yeah.
Yeah, so my experience is basically all civil service, which is quite different to how it's done in the private sector. So first of all, I wanted to do it straight when I finished my degree, so I instantly started applying for civil service jobs. And I actually had a lot of failures at the start. The civil services are very particular with how you apply, so they use something called behaviours, success profiles. So you have to be able to answer different behaviours based on your experience. And it doesn't need to be work experience, it can be life experience. It just depends on how you answer those. And I think the biggest takeaway from all that was that failing an interview is not the end of the world. It sucks in the moment when you get that you didn't pass. But the best thing you can do is learn from it, and you will learn from it. If you don't get feedback, ask for feedback, because obviously that feedback helps you improve, and you'll get better and better each time you do it. And that's what happened to me. So eventually, so for my home office role, I went through the process of applying. So I had to give a CV, I had to do personal statements, and then I had to also write. I had 3 behaviours, so like changing and improving, making the process work, things like those, and you have to give examples of those. And they're very strict in the way you've got to structure it. So I guess this is important for anyone that may be considering a civil service career. So they have something called STAR, so situation, task, action and results. And you've got to really structure it in that way. And that was something I was finding hard to wrap my head around. Eventually I wrapped my head around it, was able to structure it properly, pass the interview and got my home office role. And then I was like, oh, I would like to go on this fast stream. So the fast stream is, for anyone that hasn't heard of it, it is a graduate scheme, but it is and it isn't. There's obviously a lot of graduates, but there's also a lot of people like me who are already in the civil service and kind of want to pivot into a different area, a different scheme, a different pillar. So that can be your opportunity to get into data and analytics, like me, digital and cyber. There's also all sorts, some people also change their mind, you might have a technical degree, but you want to go into something else and that's your opportunity to do. So yeah, that process was a lot more involved. So it initially started with an application. You get accepted to the application, they have different layers. So initially it starts with a maths test, fairly basic-ish maths test, data analysis and stuff like that. They want to see that you have a basic capability. Then they went into sort of situational awareness tests. So they give you some scenarios where you're a manager and someone's having an issue, and they give you a whole bunch of different options of answers. And some of them are very similar. It's bizarre the way they do it, but there's a method to it. There's a reason why they do it, and it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. They just want to see consistency, that you have a managerial style. You're not trying. I think the best advice I would give is, don't try and give the answer that you think they want. Give the answer of what you think you should do, like an honest answer, because they'll be able to see that you're quite consistent in your answers and you have an approach that can be worked on. And then if you get through that, you go to a formal interview, and they have like really senior civil servants that will interview you, assess you, and you go through answering those behaviours again. And obviously I've had experience with those before, so that was quite helpful for me. And then in the end, you go to an assessment centre. And this was the fun. This is what most people didn't like, but I actually quite enjoyed it. It's a bizarre situation where you're in with, I think it was 9 other people who have also gotten through to that stage. So they're your competition, strangely, and you get put through different scenarios where you'll get given case studies, and you need to read them, and then you go through to a one-to-one answer questions based on that. You only get a really short amount of time to kind of read through that scenario and gather and analyse as much as you can, and they ask questions. And then you go back and they give you another scenario, and then you actually discuss it with those 9 other people, 8 other people, including yourself. And that's where they kind of want to see that you have management potential or leadership. It's a leadership program, and that's kind of where, if someone's quiet, you're the type of person that would say, hey, so-and-so, what do you think? You're really trying to engage. And I know a lot of it sounds non-technical, but they don't necessarily test your technical skill. You'll be able to do technical roles, but yeah, eventually you get through that, and then you get into the program, and it's a really brilliant program. So you do it for 3 years, and then by the end of the 3 years, you're a grade that's called a grade 7, and that's where you're in charge of an entire team. So I'm one step below that. I'm a senior executive officer, and next year that'll be where I am. So I currently am line managing one person, which has been a great experience. Not everyone gets to do that. So it's really good to develop a person. But yeah, civil service is great. Recruitment is very different to private sector, but you can learn it. You can really develop your skills in that, and you can be like a real pro at applications and interviews, and that really helps you get the role you want. Yeah, so they were both so my initial home office one and then the fast stream one was quite different, but yeah, they were both really interesting.
Thank you, Jermaine. That was very insightful, very, very detailed. Thank you.
Well, so I could say so much on this one. I'll try my best to be concise. So one is my current job, and the other experience is the placement experience. So for the current job, I had 1-stage interview, and there was no coding challenge really, even though it was developer position. But it was after they've seen my CV. The meeting was arranged, the CEO and the CTO, so it was 3 of us, video call, talking about a lot of stuff and a lot of stuff that I've done in the past. So it was about the placement and it was about finally a project. So now that's a really good tip, that you need to have something to talk about. And now, because my project was a really cool thing I was really passionate about, I could talk about it easily a lot, and that was really good. I was getting really good points for this. Maybe a quick one about like AI and ChatGPT stuff. That there is those funny kind of opinions, like you can go through interview using ChatGPT or some AI tools, and it's like, I'm not sure about it. Like, well, yes, when you have a coding challenge that you can get, like, oh, you send it back in 48 hours, that's fine. But for this interview, for example, there was no such a thing, and all it was conversation. And then we went into with the CTO, so the Chief Technology Officer. He's a developer, and we started to talk about code and some design patterns, some architecture stuff. So as we were on the video call with cameras on, there's no chance that I could Google or ChatGPT the answers. So like, don't count on that. And yeah, it's actually really nice that you can have just a conversation about coding, and you don't actually need to do the coding challenge or coding task. So this was exactly the case for this one, and they were happy to take me on. And so there's that. And just to briefly say it about the placement one. So this was my first time applying for all those kind of software engineering jobs, and it was terrible experience. And I thought I'm not gonna get a placement. It was taking me months, and then in January I landed, but I started in November. So there is this pattern that once you start the second year, the big tech is opening positions in November, yeah, something like that. So we start applying there. But of course, these are the hardest to get. So like all the finance, some of the big tech stuff like Amazon, Facebook, banking companies, consultancy, so like Capgemini, Accenture, EY, JP Morgan, and I was just getting rejected from all across. And then it was summer later, December, it was Accenture, where I started to go to next stage. So, and also briefly, so interviews, they can really, or like recruitment process, it can differ a lot. Some of them, they will be multiple stages, and especially in corporations. And in smaller companies, you can have like I had just one stage, one interview, one meeting, and it was done. So I had a little bit of this and a little bit of the long processes for the placement. It was after COVID hit. It was it was still 2020, November, December. Everything was online. So some of the interviews, it was those automated interviews where you just once it starts, you get a question and it's video recording. You can't stop it. You're just literally talking just to the monitor, and it's much worse than speaking to a person. And I'm not non-native speaker. It was just so bad. I had like a mental crisis after a few of those. I was like, I can't even go through those questions, and it's just a disaster. It was coding challenges that I was failing. And then eventually, once Accenture, I started to progress to different stages. There's assessment center, so there are different stuff like deductive thinking, reasoning, communication skills, various things. You move forward to the next one, more narrow, and then it was in person, not in person, it was still online, but it was with real people. And then eventually at the end it was technical interview, like a last stage for software engineering. So that was interesting. Yeah, I think it is it. So last thing I would like to say. I think it's very important to try those interviews, but don't feel pressured that you need to do placement. I can see like few of us, it's quite interesting that many of us, we did placement, but also it's extra year, and remember that it's paid much less. It's like, it's not a normal salary. And then as I'm a foreigner and I was just renting a room in London, I couldn't go and live with parents during my placement. Basically, it wasn't enough to sustain me in London, so I had to do actually make some extra income except placement to sustain it, sustain my living in London. So that was super interesting. And in the hindsight, well, of course it helped me to get a job, and this interview process, the recruitment experience is amazing. But on the other hand, it makes your study longer. So I think try to get it. If you don't get it, don't stress. That's also good, and you can move on. Yeah, that was a bit extended, but yeah,
No,
sorry
that was
about
great.
that.
Thank you.
I'll try not to repeat what the rest of the panel have said, but yeah, similar to, it was actually the opposite way round. My placement year interview was a lot simpler than my graduate job interview. So actually, similar to again, I knew I wanted to do a placement year, but I don't think I took it very seriously at the time. So I just assumed, yeah, I'll find something, it's fine. Not really understanding the cycle of how job applications open, when companies kind of advertise. So as Piotr said, like a lot of big companies that we all know, like Amazon, Spotify, kind of the companies that everyone wants to work for, those open basically the year before you're due to start the placement. So I was a bit behind and didn't realize that and missed a lot of deadlines to apply to these companies. So definitely get ahead, and I learned that for my graduate job search. So it got to the point, it was, I think, in the new year, it's basically late for a lot of the grad jobs. So I was really struggling at that point to figure out where I wanted to apply, and actually that's where the kind of university career service came pretty handy. And I think, I can't remember who mentioned it earlier, but there was, I think it was Jamil, there was a job portal that you can actually go through and see kind of advertise, like job postings that have, or companies that have like links to the university. So I actually ended up getting an interview for a company that had a lot of interns from Westminster previously, so they had a pretty good relationship with our employability centre, and that was pretty simple. It was a cloud computing company, a US-based company, but relatively small, and it was just one interview with the person who would be my manager and the manager who heads up the entire team. That was for a project management role, and the interview was pretty straightforward. It was just kind of, what do I know about the company? At the time, I didn't know much about cloud data management, so just absorbed as much information as I could from the website and played it back to him, and he was like, fine. And then there are a bit more, I wouldn't say technical, but just kind of role-specific questions on what I knew about project management. Conveniently, that same year, I had taken Hussein's module on Agile project management, so was able to just kind of take my learnings from that and present that back to the interviewers. And after that, I think literally the next day, I got a phone call saying that I got the job. And I'd interviewed for quite a few other companies, but I was pretty happy with that, so just withdrew from the other application processes and proceeded with that. It helped that it was like 10 minutes down my road, so yeah, that was great. And then building from that experience, I realized I had to be a lot more prepared and a lot earlier with just my timelines for applying for my graduate job. And maybe I was a bit excessive, but I had like a massive Excel tracker of like who I was going to apply for, when the dates, when the job postings opened, and all that kind of stuff. I was like not missing out this time. So I was very kind of proactive when it came to that. And again, just making sure my CV was tailored to the different roles that I was going to apply for. Went through application processes, again, as kind of others in the panel mentioned, for the bigger companies. The stages are a lot more kind of rigid and a lot more structured, so you get the kind of first stage, kind of, for me, none of my roles were particularly technical, so I didn't have to do technical exams, but it was more like you would do maybe like a basic maths test and then a kind of situational judgment test. So they'll give you scenarios that could happen in the workplace, and you have to select which option you would go ahead with in that scenario. I think it was Farouk who mentioned it earlier. He said that you should just kind of go with what you think rather than what you think they want you to say in that situation. I actually found it was the opposite, and I would then kind of go back to the company websites and figure out, okay, what kind of person do they want, just based on like their values and what they say on their website, and actually then apply that lens to the questions that I was answering. And when I did that, I found I was a lot more successful with those applications. So I think, yeah, trial and error, you kind of figure out how certain companies want you to answer the questions as you get more practice in doing those tests. I don't want to ramble on, but yeah, assessment centres is something that I had to do quite a bit as well, particularly for my role now at Accenture. So that was my graduate job, and I've been there since the past 2.5 years. I kind of applied to Accenture a bit differently. So one thing that I don't want to jump ahead, but one thing I would say is if you're not on LinkedIn, definitely get a LinkedIn account. And you don't have to post this regularly, but just make sure you're engaged, make sure you're following the companies that you would want to apply for. Just because for me, I think I've done a couple of posts about my placement year and kind of what I'm interested in doing after graduating, and somehow a recruiter from Accenture found my profile and sent me a message to join an Insight Week, and through that Insight Week I was fast-tracked through the interview and kind of hiring process for Accenture, which is perfect because that was like #1 on that Excel list that I created, so that worked out really nicely as well. So I did an Insight Week, which again, even if you don't go through the hiring process, really go through your CV.
Did you skip the multiple stages of the...
No, so sorry, so if you also asked if I skipped multiple stages if you didn't hear, I didn't skip multiple stages, but I was able to apply to the grad scheme before it was open to the public. So I did the Insight Week. You get kind of like consulting challenges with potential consulting firm, and you basically get like a case study of what somebody would be doing in a typical consulting role. After that, if you do the typical kind of situational judgment test again, if you pass that, you were sent to the assessment centre. Again, it was, I think for mine, it was 3 stages. The initial stage was a paired exercise, so somebody else who was in the assessment centre, we were given a challenge and we had to, I think we had like 5 minutes to figure out the challenge amongst ourselves. Then we had to present it back to our interviewer. And then I had a case study, so it was kind of a presentation that we were briefed on before. And we were given a list of, I think, like 7 tech trends that Accenture releases yearly. And we had to, at the time it was COVID, so we had to pick one of the 7 tech trends and apply it to an industry that was impacted by COVID. Because of my final year project, I did it on like a travel website. It was something that was really interesting to me. I picked a tech trend that would help the travel industry recover after COVID. So I had to do like a presentation to my interviewer on that. And I think because, again, someone mentioned earlier about your final year project being linked to like what you want to do, that was really important for me because my interviewer could tell I was pretty passionate about it. And instead of him asking me follow-up questions, he started talking about travel. So that was quite nice as well because I kind of got out of answering some of the interview questions. And then the final bit of that was, I think, just again, like a situational judgment interview. What would you do in certain scenarios if the client says this, or if you have an issue with X, Y, Z. So I think generally you can find a lot of information online, what kind of questions different companies ask in their graduate scheme processes. A lot of the big companies, they are pretty structured, they pretty much are the same every year. You can find a lot of advice on companies like, websites like Student Room. I used a lot just to figure out what I would be getting myself into. And yeah, I think I probably won't follow any of lots of trains for. But yeah, basically just do a lot of practice, get as much information as you can from like student forums, and yeah, the more you do it, the more you'll get better at kind of the whole application process.
Thank you so much, Lola. I think some very, very, very interesting points here. Okay, starting from technical tests to behavioral tests to no tests, but talking actually with the CEO or with the technical manager. And then, for example, don't get disappointed. definitely you will have a lot of failures, hopefully none, but be prepared. And again, carry on, reapply and reapply and reapply. Some diversion here, some of you be honest and try to answer the way that you want to. However, some other people research ahead about the company, what they're looking, their profile, so you tailor it to the company. Okay, so I would say go with your instinct and your gut, different approaches here. Again, depends what you want to do, what job you want to apply. And another thing, very, very important, placement. So most of you brought about placement, how important it is, and even if it takes 4 years in order to finish your degree, still, however, most of the cases here are graduates found their job because of their placement. However, if the placement doesn't work for you, again, it's not the end of the world. Carry on with your degree, finish your degree, and then focus to apply for the jobs. So thank you so much, and I would like to put my final question, so then you will have time, you to ask questions to our panelists, and later on, of course, have some networking during the refreshments. So my final question is about jobs. So I think, Lola, you mentioned it, where our graduates or our final year students, or our students actually, they can start looking for jobs.
Yeah, so as I said with my long Excel list, I think just go to companies that you know you would want to work for, even if you don't necessarily know what role. Just go on the websites, go on their careers pages, see what kind of roles they do offer. Just reading through the different job descriptions, you'll get an idea of what you like more than others. And then just bear that in mind, you can apply directly on the website, just keep a note of dates when they open. Also LinkedIn, as I said, was pretty key for me, since I probably don't know I would have been at Accenture today if it wasn't for that DM. So yeah, definitely LinkedIn, follow pages of companies that you're interested in. You'll see when their graduate schemes and like opportunities come up. Again, I would say the university website, the employability website, that was really critical for me for my placement years, so make sure you look at that as well. And then just generally, like other job boards, you can always find like grad job boards on the internet. Yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Thank you.
Not much to add, I think. It's yeah, you just need to exhaust any sources that you can find. All the aggregate websites, of course, LinkedIn, yes, and of course you will start to see that they repeat on like many websites, but sometimes they don't. Like for some reason, what you find on Monster Job, on Indeed, is not gonna be on LinkedIn, or another way around. For placement specifically, yeah, the uni also has gives you some leads. Basically, you're getting emails, and one. In the end, I had 2 offers for placements. One was Accenture, one was another smaller company, and that was company provided by uni. So yes, yeah, that also happens. Yeah, maybe very quick story from me, the LinkedIn, why it can be important, because it's more direct communication, and once I applied to my current job, Smoke Free, I found that when I went, like I was researching the company, and I found that the link is broken, like the link from LinkedIn to their website, it was broken. I was like, okay, so what's that? I googled, and then I found, oh, it's this domain. And the domain was just different, somehow was outdated or something. So what I did, I DM'd CEO on LinkedIn, telling him, look, I was just checking that you have broken link on your page, and by the way, I applied to your job offering. And sure enough, he responded, and he passed it to the CTO, and I got the job, so maybe it helped.
I'm not really sure what to add on to that, I guess, from public side, from the civil service side, of the civil service jobs website, that has a lot, like every single job across the civil service, all government departments. I think that's a really good learning opportunity as well, to apply for as many as you can that you're interested in, obviously, and learn from those. Also, for anyone that's in their final year, that's graduating, the fast stream applications are actually open at the moment until the 7th of November, midday. So that's something you can absolutely look into. Feel free to reach out if you need any advice or help with that. That's a really, really good opportunity to kind of fast track your career and learn a lot while doing it. And then, I'd say, civil service jobs definitely. But for those people that are not graduating yet, the fast stream also has work placements in government departments during the summer and stuff like that. So that's definitely something to look out for as well, because that's really invaluable experience. And a lot of my colleagues that are in the fast stream with me, they did those job placements. So I gave them a huge leg up when kind of coming into the fast stream. So it's definitely something to consider.
Yeah, a lot of really similar points to these guys. LinkedIn, big one. Like a point I'd like echo from what Logan said about LinkedIn is that recruiters can be really, really handy, even both like before when you're actually looking for grad jobs and even once you're actually in work. So one thing I found really interesting was that before I went back to my role now, so before I went back as a graduate, because I had experience from the placement, I used to get a lot of recruiters anyway on LinkedIn, especially in like marketing. They'll flood you with DMs with like offers for like interviews and whatnot. And what's really useful about that is because you can like speak to a lot of them and kind of fast track your way into interviews. And it's not to say that you always like get a role like when you have recruiters and stuff, but you can often like stay in contact with certain recruiters. And when you do that, sometimes they put you to the front of the queue with like certain jobs they might find that you might be like a good fit for, or ones that you've just told them that aren't really interested in this type of area. They might like recommend it to you first before like other people. And like that had happened. I had like 2 other offers before I went back to my placement, to my graduate role, for like other companies that were like actually quite interesting. I didn't pursue them, but like it was good that you actually get that opportunity through pursuing recruiters. So it's good to have a few in your back pocket all the time. And also just networking, I think, is another good route to jobs. Like you never know when companies are having discussions within their own teams about who they want to bring in. A lot of times, like in the past 2 months, I can recall many conversations sat down with managers who were like trying to fill certain positions, but we're not actively advertising them. And they're literally sitting down talking about, do you know someone, do you know someone? And a lot of times they're not actually asking, well, how much experience does this person have? It's, are they interested in this area? And do you think we could teach them? Or do you think they could learn in this environment? So just by like talking to people that you know, talking to graduates, people in the industry that you'll probably meet at events like this and other networking events like that the uni put on, you never know like who's gonna like not bring you in, but give you like a step up. Because oftentimes it's that. Like I've got several colleagues at the moment that they kind of came through like really non-traditional routes, and they're actually like performing really, really well in that team. And it was literally just because like someone said, oh hey, like I know someone. They worked in this industry, but I think they have this transferable skill, so they could learn really well with us. So don't ever shy away from like asking someone just, oh hey, you work at this company, do you think they would take me on, sort of thing. Like you genuinely like don't know like where that could lead. So yeah, I'd say like networking is like probably like the most powerful tool in terms of like advancing your career, getting grad jobs, and then continuing to look for more jobs. Like once you are already in a graduate job, you might not want to stay at the same place forever. So yeah, those are like two I would say.
So yeah, they already mentioned some of the obvious ones, like the University Engage website and LinkedIn. But you can also talk to your course leader or other academic staff, and they may know about some companies looking for applicants or that they have open positions. Also, I think it's worth it to look at where recent graduates from your degree are working at, because if they got the job there, I think it means that you study or have the same skills as them, so you could get a position there as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I think this was very, very interesting. Again, you gave different opinions on where our students should start looking at, but the most important thing, LinkedIn definitely tick the boxes, and it's something that even if you haven't started doing your online profile, make sure that you use LinkedIn. I would like to thank our excellent panel members here. They give us very insightful things about their jobs, their careers, their placement, hiring process, how it looks and how it feels like to finish the university and then start looking for a job, or while you are at the university, for example, to start thinking about your sandwich or your placement here. I would like to thank them as well because they found some time to come from their jobs and talk to you and share with you their thoughts and their experience so far. And yeah, now I think we have approximately 20 minutes for you to put some questions to our panelists before, of course, go to the refreshments, and you can carry on asking questions to the panel members during the refreshments. But we have 15-20 minutes approximately where we can take some questions from you, and you can use my mic. Okay. We have another. Yeah, you. Okay. So then I will. Okay. So I think you can all hear me. It was a bit awkward with this microphone. Do we have any questions? As I said, we have time for questions to put to the panel members. So feel free to ask any questions you want. Yeah.
How did you prepare? How did you prepare for the fasting interview?
How did I prepare for the interview?
Yes, you know.
Okay, yeah. So when I got the email that I got the technical test or interview, they mentioned briefly like what I was going to be about. So in my case, it was about C. So from there, I did some HackerRank exercise, and then I just researched about that. I also look into what the company does, and from there, I kind of figure out like what they could possibly ask in the test.
I think the question was for Jamil specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, but I think it was targeting specifically Jamil, maybe.
So, guess what? LinkedIn played a big part in it. So I'd done a lot of research and kind of what the process entails, what the steps are for each phase of the recruitment process for the fast stream. So what I did was I went on LinkedIn and found fast streamers that were currently in the digital scheme, the digital pillar, and I actually got help from them, advice from them, and kind of talked through it, what to prepare for, what to expect. I think the biggest advice I'd give is to research the success profiles, like the business, the behaviours that the civil service uses. Everything throughout the recruitment processes deals with those behaviours. So your knowledge of those behaviours is really crucial, and your understanding of kind of how to prepare examples based on those behaviours. And also, using like the STAR format, like I mentioned before: situation, task, action, and result. So really, like step by step of what you had to do, how you did it, and what the result was. And I think as well, the biggest advice I can give on top of that is to kind of stand out in terms of a lot of people just go straight for that STAR and give their examples and stick to that. But I think the best thing you can do is when you get to the interview stage, is kind of reflect on your examples that you give, kind of show them that you've had some thought afterwards, that you can explain how you do something differently or how you'd improve, in hindsight. And that's something they really, really like, because obviously that shows potential that maybe things aren't perfect and you kind of want that you have the capability to sort of improve and think that and realise that things could have been done better. So behaviours, understanding of behaviours, and the STAR format is number one.
Thank you so much, Jamil. Do we have, I think there is a question from this lady over there.
So, let's see, Paris. I just want to ask, what do you wish you had known when you were first starting out in your own careers? Something you wish you'd been told that you'd like to tell the group of students today?
Is there a specific panel member that you are? Anyone. Okay.
But after graduation or still at uni?
So, just at the cusp of your careers, just starting out, after you've graduated and you're going into it all, maybe the headspace or...
Difficult.
I mean, for me, it was scary because I wish I'd been told that it's okay to fail. I was always so scared of failure that it really actually stressed me out when I first started. But it's completely normal. Even when you're 20 years into your career and you start a new job, there's always, you know, that mental blanking, the imposter syndrome. That never goes away really for a lot of people. And I mean, I think one thing I got told is that it's okay to fail and probably fail fast, and then, you know, learn from that quickly. You'll rarely ever do something that's gonna destroy a company or a team, and it's always a learning opportunity. So yeah, I'd say don't be afraid of failure, and it's completely okay. No one really ever told me that, and I was just stressing out of my mind that, oh my god. And if I did make a mistake, I was just like sleepless nights, and you really don't have to have that. It's completely fine. So yeah, I wish I'd been told. I'm not sure who probably should have. Maybe my first manager. But yeah, I would say it's completely fine and it's normal, and yeah, to expect imposter syndrome, because that's going to happen no matter what, and it's something you'll always deal with. But yeah, it's completely fine.
Thank you.
Just one thing from me, I think even when you start your career, you can always change. I think you don't always need to know 100% what it is that you want to do. I still don't even know 100% what I want to do in 2.5 years into my time at Accenture. I think the good thing about consulting for me is that it is pretty broad. If I want to, in my 2 years, I've worked on about 4 to 5 different clients, all different industries. My roles on the different projects have also varied quite a bit. So I think, I mean, that's kind of unique to consulting in that you can change a lot. But I think in any broader tech career, you'll never really completely pigeonholed. There's always opportunities for you to do things, try new things, gain new skills. So don't worry too much about trying to figure out 100% what it is you want to do for the rest of your career. Now, like, you'll learn that and it will evolve as you progress. I don't think you ever truly know 100%, but yeah, that's just one thing I wouldn't stress about right now.
Thank you so much, Lola. Any other questions? Yeah? You have a gentleman over there.
Hey there, so all of you work in the tech sector. I was wondering, what are your thoughts on AI taking job opportunity and employment, and how would you prepare for that?
I can go, which I don't know how good my answer will be.
Everyone, sure.
Yeah, okay, cool. I think for me, so actually my company is pretty big on generative AI at the moment. That's like a massive push. They're trying to upskill all of us in that. I think there are, I think there's always going to be opportunities and new roles developed from leveraging AI, training AI, being able to apply AI to different situations. Like, yeah, with more automated kind of jobs where you're doing very mundane tasks that are repetitive every day, there's always going to be the risk of your jobs being automated and lost. But I think, this feels so political of me, but I feel like with AI there are also so many new opportunities to, like, somebody has to teach it, somebody has to kind of build these models, someone has to train these models, someone has to kind of actually implement AI in businesses, and that is actually a lot of the things that I do in my role. Like my current project, we're looking at how we can automate contact center roles and using AI to basically automate processes and approvals of, I don't want to get too much on my project, but like medical conditions and stuff. So I think to cut it short, I think there's going to be opportunities that come out of it and new jobs out of it. So I'm not particularly worried personally.
Maybe you should worry if AI, for example, makes coffee for yourself and your team. So maybe then we should start worrying about. Okay, if it starts making coffee for the team and bond with the team, then yes.
I think we are not there yet. You can just Google about some things like LLM model collapse and the fact that we are hitting a wall in terms of like data capabilities. One is the processor and then the amount of data, because some websites, they are restricting that they don't want to use their website for LLM training, for example. But for like practicalities, we have all assistants as on a premium. What I mean, for my coding environment, I have GitHub Copilot, and I use it daily. And Copilot is like, of course, my employer pays for it, and it just speeds up my work, but it doesn't work for me. Like it's very often it can just spits out things that are wrong, or it needs a lot of context. So that's the thing. We are far away from from the place where it will be like this autonomous assistant. I still think that. Some people, they prefer to have ChatGPT Premium and they use that. So some of my colleagues, I prefer Copilot, which is inside the IDE. And definitely I'm not worried about my job at all. It's just a kind of assistant to be more efficient.
I'd agree. I don't think there's anywhere in the near future where AI is going to kind of lose your jobs or take over. I think, at least in my space in cybersecurity, I think it's quite an exciting time for AI to be able to sort of assist us, and I think that's where we're going, to make jobs easier, or at least be able to help you focus on more important tasks. So an example of that is obviously one of the less exciting parts of my role is like inbox management. So across DEFRA, we get all the security incidents come through, and we have to kind of filter it ourselves across the 4 domains, so like physical, information, technical, and personnel. And I think AI could really play a part in sort of doing that for us, and that would allow me to sort of concentrate on the more fun things like my data analysis projects or leak inquiries, which we work on, and things like that. So I think in a way it should be more of an assistive thing to help us, to do more BAU or business as usual tasks for us, instead of like fully replacing us.
Similar opinion. At my workplace, we have like an AI work stream where, obviously, in an industry like marketing and like media marketing, digital marketing, there's a lot of potential space for AI to do a lot of things, but there's also so much space for it to mess things up, which is why like we kind of see a lot of like the point that Peter was mentioning about kind of not limited capacity, but so kind of the walls you hit with language models. We do a lot at my workplace of like putting language models over dashboards in order to assist like data storytelling, and oftentimes it's just not what the clients want. A lot of clients are quite sort of sensitive towards their data or like their context even being used through AIs and through language models. So it's definitely more of something, in my opinion, that AI is used to sort of take away identify the drag tasks and automate those in order to give us more time and be a business as usual sort of work. And there's such a long way to go with like large language models and how much they will really play into the industry, and I think we're very much at the beginning of that sort of phase. So I wouldn't worry about kind of jobs being taken over. They're more like using it to enhance the early stages of doing what you're doing, like with writing code or with sort of like helping to clean data sets. But in reality, there's so much of a human element to that as well. Like for example, in what I do with econometrics, it's a mix of statistical analysis, but also a huge amount of real world context. And I can't imagine sitting in front of a client and saying that, yeah, the AI told me that this is why the model says to spend 2 million more on Facebook, for example. Like, no one's going to want to hear that, but in reality, they want to hear why you said it as a human who understands their company and understands their journey as a company, as a client. And the AI just can't do that right now. So it's more, automating the small things to make the rest of your job easier. So it wouldn't take away the bigger engineering roles, in my opinion.
So I'm not particularly concerned about AI because in our company we are dealing with a huge code base of legacy code, so I don't think the AI will be trying to handle that code, especially because we have to develop it in a certain specific way to make it multi-platform. But that being said, because I know AI might come in the future, even as a game development student, I decided to focus my final year project into machine learning. So to be a bit better prepared in the case more AI technologies develop.
Thank you so much. So yes, we are not there yet. However, you need to be aware that as AI is maturing, there are a lot of things from European law, British law that brings into ethics, brings into accountability, because a lot of models try to put explainability there, but as our panelist member explained here, we are very far away of that. So I don't think we should start worrying about our jobs yet. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, we have a lady. Yes, of course. And then I think I will take 2 questions from you. Do we have any other questions? So maybe I can take 1 more question and then we can finish. So you can carry on, talk to our panelists through our refreshments. But maximum, I can take 3 questions. Okay, 2 from you, and if anyone else has 1 more question.
I guess this is specifically for Lola and Fareed. First question is, do you have any advice for your first year uni self?
First year university. Definitely sort of get to if you have, for example, if I was in first year and I had, like I kind of, when I went in first year, I knew roughly what career path or what job I wanted, like when I graduated. So I think looking back, what I would do is make a lot more effort to find like volunteering or internships even from the beginning, because from like first year of uni, you're not like, it's never too early to follow up on opportunities like that, and it's going to help pay off like big time once you reach the end. So I would think about things like that, and just again like speak to your lecturers about what research they've done, because often like little bits of information from them or like ideas that they've done, or like contracts that they might have worked on can spark a lot of inspiration in you. So yeah, I would say like in first year, try to gather as much inspiration through information from your peers and from your colleagues, and try to find like the really early opportunities, because honestly, like as was mentioned by the panel, experience, as horrible as it sounds, like nowadays where everyone just wants experience and wants to get a job, it is part of it. And if you can get that experience early on, even if it's through like, a couple of weeks volunteering here or a month internship here or a digital internship or something, by getting those things, it really will set you very far apart. So yeah, I would have, because I didn't do enough of that when I was in first year, and I would definitely, like, if I could go back, I would do that.
For me, it's probably not what I should be saying on like an employability panel, but I honestly wouldn't stress too much about like career. Sorry, I'm like literally contradicting what you're saying, Fareed, but like I probably wouldn't stress that much about the employability side of things in first year. Like I think, obviously, as I said, I missed the boat when it came to second year and applying to internships. So I think probably towards the end of your first year, definitely start thinking about what it is you would want to do if you were to pursue a placement year. But I think one thing, if I could go back and just leveraging other opportunities at university and just making the most of my actual university experience. Like there's a lot you can do. I don't know if we still do it, but there's like the Westminster, I think it's like an employability program where you can like go abroad and like you can like get to experience different things. I didn't get, like I found out about that very late and didn't get the opportunity to do it when COVID hit. So if I could go back, I would definitely explore that. I think you could even do like exchanges or semester-long exchanges. That again, you know, it wasn't widely publicized when I was at uni, and I wish I had found out about it sooner, because I think it is, for my course anyway, it was second year that you could do it, and I found out about it, I think, in like my final year. So definitely, I wouldn't stress too much about employability career stuff if you are still in first year, but yeah, focus on your lectures, focus on your coursework, kinda, and yeah, make use of like the other opportunities at the university.
And then my second question is, how beneficial do you think a post-grad degree would be for your, I guess, field?
That's a good question. For my line of work specifically in consulting, I wouldn't say it's particularly, it's not advantageous, whatever the word is, to do a post-grad, just because in consulting, yeah, it was very beneficial to me doing my degree, but it's actually a pretty general career. I have friends that did like geography or biochem and like just random degrees that are now all working on tech projects alongside me. So I wouldn't say that a specific kind of tech postgrad or just any postgrad would be of particular benefit. However, once you do kind of work your way up the ladder and you are taking more of a management kind of role, I know a lot of people do like MBAs or like courses similar to that, which is more focusing on business administration, leadership, and developing those skills a lot more. And I think maybe later on in your career, or like in my career, that would be something I would look into, but I think it wouldn't have made my career any better or helped me much more doing a postgrad. Was that just for reading myself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, like kind of opposite answer. Only because like, I guess in the career that I'm in data science, my role is like 90% technical, 80% technical, and then 20% kind of client facing. Sometimes that fluctuates, but in general, when you're in a role like that, there are a lot of postgrads available that can help you specialize. Because in data science, you know, a lot of people can learn to do what you need to do in DS, but there's a lot of pathways to be really specific. For example, you might want to do like health data science, or like right now I work in marketing, but I definitely don't want to do marketing for like my whole life, sort of thing. Like I'd like to go into like health analytics, so I might look at like a postgrad eventually about like health data science or data science and healthcare services, something like that. There's a lot of different ones. Even there's like finance and data analytics. So like if you're in a technical role, I would say that there are a lot of postgrad opportunities that could really shape your career a lot. Whether you want to do that as soon as you finish uni or after a few years, because like I know people that, for example, like in my team, I think everyone did a mathematics-based degree. Like only me and like one other person are the only people that actually did data science as an undergrad. Everyone else is like maths and physics students. So everyone has gone through like a further pathway as well, or has aspirations to go and do a master's or postgrad to like further specialize. So I would say it depends on how technical your degree is, and your career is, and just what you actually want as well. And yeah, I think the nice thing about postgrads or like a master's is that you can do it later on as well. And like if you feel like your career is shaping a certain way, you you might be able to go, and you might get lucky, you might get a company who is willing to help sponsor part of it as well. I think Westminster give a discount, or something like that. So if you graduate from there, so yeah, depend. If you're in a career like that, I would say that Westminster is definitely a good option.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm not taking any more questions because we are running out of time. Feel free to ask more questions during the refreshments and while you're networking. But I would like you now, all of you, to thank once more our panel members. Okay? Also behind the curtains, I would like to thank Hussein and the relation team back there, okay, for all the hard work.